What is up, everybody? This is Jordan from PictureMonk.com, and welcome to episode 74 of the podcast. I am very, very, very excited about this particular podcast because I've been wanting to do one of these for a very long time. And if you paid attention to the subject of the podcast, it's about drones. So let me start off by saying I'm going to talk about some drone stuff. And if you're not into drones, or if you're, kind of on the fence of whether you would use one or not, just kind of listen to kind of what I'm going to talk about, because I'm not going to get super heavy into the drone stuff because I have only flown my drone as of this podcast once, but it's still going to be all about drones. I don't know how I'm going to stretch this out, but we'll see what happens. But I'm mainly going to talk about the usages and some of the things that I've learned, and just some fun stuff that I found being a very first time drone owner and a very first time drone flyer. And so, but before I get into that, let me go over some fun things that have happened. One thing I want to note about the podcast going forward. I am unfortunately going to have to cut it back to probably about once every other week. If I can find the time to squeeze in one every week like I have been doing, I will certainly do that. And plus, if I get more questions in, I got tons of questions in already. But I don't want to be one of those podcasts that just answer photography questions all the time. I don't mind doing that every once in a while, but I've mainly been emailing people back. Instead of just putting their questions into the podcast, just because I don't, I think it could be kind of boring for you guys, especially for me to just answer, 8 questions or so and then be done with the podcast for that week. I just think it's kind of boring. I want to have a little bit more meat when it comes to the podcast, because this is, I'm meeting a lot of new people doing the podcast, and I want to continue doing that because there's some really, really fun people out there, really talented folks. So I really want to continue doing that and have a little bit more engagement. And so I feel like if I answer questions, there's not going to be much engagement. And so I want to keep that going. But for right now, every other week most likely will happen. Like I said, if I can just squeeze in maybe not even a whole episode where I do just random topics, but if I can just nail down one topic, then I'll definitely do that, and it might be a little shorter, but. There's just tons of stuff going on here with another photography related thing that I'm doing on the side, and then trying to get some stuff squared away for springtime coming up. For all you wannabe real estate photographers or real estate photographers, spring's getting here fairly close. So trying to get together some marketing materials to send out to agents in the area. And trying to this is one thing with the drone, trying to get caught up on exactly how to use the drone, so I can further some services for my real estate stuff. That's kind of my focus right now. So before we get into it, I want to talk about something that came in the mail. And it's something I ordered, and if you follow me on Instagram, you will probably already seen a quick pic of it. But I mentioned this on the PictureMonk Nation Facebook page to go ahead and print out your best of 2016 images, and that was kind of a challenge that I put out there, and it was something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I've never pulled the trigger to do it. So what I finally did was print a book. For the 2016 images. I have it sitting on my desk right here. I wish you guys could see it. If I did the video podcast, then you definitely could see it. But I have the book here, and it's just amazing. I love not necessarily the images in them, because I've seen them over and over and over again. That's not really what I'm talking about. But the print quality of the book is just fantastic. I love the book. I actually got it from Adorama Pics. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, but I've really heard their stuff is great, and that's where I get all the prints from that I order. So I wanted to go ahead and order a book there, and I'm just amazed by the book. And I got a fairly large one. I think it's a 12 by 9 12 by 9 book. And the reason I got that one, after doing a little bit of research, the reason I got a 12 by 9 book is because most of the images that I put in there are landscape orientated images. And so when you fold open the book, when you open the pages, the resulting layout, so really I'm looking at 18 inches long and 12 inches tall. That layout is a full aspect ratio of your images if you're shooting a normal resolution on your camera. So it's a full resolution or a full spanning of your images without having to crop anything off. And so I did that because I wanted to do a full spread for all of the images that I have there. So they're nice big images so people can flip through them and see them. And it turned out way better than I thought it would. Plus the paper is not just, your cheap old paper that you would normally have. It's actually, I believe I chose the silk paper. That was one of the options there, and it was an option that didn't add on any additional cost because I got a lot more images in there that I thought I was going to get to. Plus, you're taking up 2 pages per image, so and then you have to add on pages towards the end and try to fill it up. And so I wanted to cut back cost just a little bit, but it still turned out just amazing. And so all I did was basically put one of my images on the front, put Best 2016 on there, put my logo there, and then fill up the book with a bunch of images, and I'm super happy about it. So that made me want to actually go back and find my 2015 images and order a book for the 2015 stuff since I still have that. So I'm putting that book together too, and I'll be ordering another one exactly the same dimensions and everything. And every year going forward, I will be doing another book. And I think my dad and I kind of came up with this idea, but my wife actually mentioned something about it. She said that it's going to be kind of fun to have these books going forward, not only for my purposes, but for my son's purposes as well. He can look back, since he's kind of young now, he can look back and see the stuff that his dad has done, and it'll just be cool for him to check out. So just kind of something to think about there. So if you guys haven't done that already, if you're kind of waiting and just kind of get adjusted to the new year, definitely go back and try to get your photos printed, even if they're not in a book. Putting them in some sort of form, even just printing 8.5 by 11s or 8 by 10s or something, even just printing those and putting them in an old photo album, that would be beneficial. So just wanted to share that with you guys. I really love the book, and so if you want to go to Adorama Picks route, definitely do that. I definitely recommend them. I wish they would sponsor me, but they don't know this little podcast exists, so that's okay. But let's go ahead and get into the drone talk. All right, so the drone that I got after doing a lot of research, this is kind of how it started. I saw a drone on Amazon, not knowing much about them and just being able to read the specs. I saw the Phantom 3 Standard. And the reason I was looking at the Phantom 3 Standard was no other reasoning besides the cost. I saw the Phantom 4 that was released. I saw that one. I saw the models of that one. Definitely saw the Mavic out there, the brand new one. I saw the Inspire and just looked at the price of that one and just immediately shut that down because it's way too expensive. But I looked at the Standard and I thought it was a fairly nice drone. I was getting ready to pull the trigger on that one. But then I looked at the Professional. I didn't really see the Advanced. I'm looking at all of these on Amazon. But what was pulling up was the Professional model. I didn't see much of the Advanced, so I just kind of was like, well, what's the difference between the Professional and the Standard? And really the main difference was the light bridge technology, which is DJI's little communication tool between the remote and the aircraft, which allows it to go really far away. That was one of the main differences, and the other one was the 4K camera that's attached to the Phantom 4 Pro, or the Phantom 3 Pro. Sorry. So those were the two that I was looking at, and I was really close to getting the Standard. I've watched almost every YouTube video about the comparisons between the two, flight test, flight video. I read articles about which ones to compare to what, and a lot of people were really happy with the Standard. But I was mainly afraid, even though I was getting a drone that was pretty much at this time 2 years old. It was going to be obsolete. And so I went ahead and pulled the trigger and got the Pro for $300 something more, probably around $400 more. And so, not knowing what I was getting really, I was trying to figure out if it was going to make a difference. Again, a lot of people thought this standard was perfect for them, but I wanted to kind of look at the Pro labeling and feel like I was doing something, to tell you the truth. That sounds kind of sad, but now that I got the professional drone, I feel like I can actually fly it and do something. Not the truth, but it makes me feel good. But when I got it in the mail, I was pleasantly surprised at how easy it was to get everything together. I got their manual out that's attached right to the top of the box when you open it, and read through that, all the quick guides and all that kind of stuff, and kind of played with it, tinkered around with it in my office floor here to play around with it, screw the propellers on, charge everything up, and so then it was just basically a waiting game of whenever I could try to fly it. My first flight was actually in the backyard of my house, and I was pretty dang nervous about that. And what was funny for all those people who know drones very well was I didn't calibrate it. I didn't calibrate the compass on it right when I first flew it, even though the remote and everything, the app and everything, told me that I needed to calibrate it. I was like, well, what could happen? But it wasn't windy at all that day when I tried to fly it, and I got it up to probably about head height, and it started swaying all over the place. And I brought it back down and tried to calibrate it a little bit, and then I basically flew it to the top of my house. And by that time, I got really nervous and brought it back down. That was my first real test flight of the thing, and I was just completely nervous. I brought it back in the house, and just I was like, God, this is going to be so tough to fly, so tough to figure out what I'm going to do. But then I realized that I needed to do a lot more stuff. I tried to update the firmware on it, update the firmware on the controller and the Phantom itself, and that was a little harder than I thought it was going to be. And I found out it was something that I was doing wrong. Normally, that's usually what happens, but it was something I'm doing wrong. And if for those of you who hear this podcast and this is your time to jump on one and you want to get one, when you update the firmware, especially on the DJI, pretty much any DJI model, one thing that I found that was tripping me up was the camera card. The way you update the firmware is you download the firmware from DJI's website for your particular model, put it on the root of the camera card, pop it in the camera, boot up the drive, and it automatically starts updating it. But it never got to that point on my drone. The lights would keep flashing like something was wrong. And I had no clue what was wrong. I did everything that the documentation told me, everything that the website told me, everything. I thought I was doing everything wrong, or everything right. But what I was doing wrong was I formatted the card on my computer to make sure that there was only that one firmware file. I updated. I formatted it on my computer, and something happens with that where it doesn't want to read the card. So what I had to do is pop the card into the DJI with nothing on it. No, it was just an empty card that I deleted everything off on the computer. Popped it in there, formatted it from the app, from the DJI Go app on the phone, which you use to control and see the drone and all that kind of stuff. After I did that and put the file back on it, it was perfect. It ran fine. The firmware updated perfectly. So that was that's some little small tip for those of you who are having trouble updating that in the future. So that was my the first real flight with that. My next flight was, at the time of this podcast, I'm recording it on a Saturday. It was a week ago on Sunday, where I took it out to a field near my house, a big open field, and they have some horses, some gated up horses and stuff like that. It was a perfect day to fly. It was sunny, a tiny bit of wind, but not much. And I flew that thing until the battery ran to about 5% because I wanted to test it out as much as possible. And I tested all the features that it has. The Phantom 3 Pro has the features like the return to home feature, the automatic takeoff feature. It's got the light bridge technology, like I said, where I try to fly it as high as I was comfortable with it, which is pretty dang high for me. I couldn't even see the thing, but it was kind of fun to do that. And so that was my flight. I tested, flying it over. One of the fun things that happened during that particular flight was I was flying it, and the horses that I saw were kind of staring at me. One of them was kind of staring at me from the fence, and I was probably, 300 yards away or so. It was staring at me through the fence because it could hear the buzzing of the propellers. And so he was looking at me, and then I saw his two other friends come up, and they were all three staring at me from the fence. So I was like, I'm just going to go say hi to you guys. And I flew my drone over there and kind of took some photos of them, aerial photos of them, got some video of them walking, and it was just kind of fun to test that out. So I had a really fun time with it. And so I was really surprised with the video quality once I got back. I got back and I looked at the video quality and the photo quality that I took care of, took out while I was there, and it was I'm really impressed by it. This could be me as someone who's brand new at all this stuff. It could be me just being impressed that I can actually fly one and actually cooperate with it and take photos and videos at the same time. But it was just kind of fun to see that kind of quality from a small camera on a drone. I'm really impressed by it. I know Mike Davis, who is part of the PictureMonk Nation Facebook page. He also has a drone, and he kind of commented back and forth on my post where I took a picture of the flight, and he said he's probably going to update the camera or update his drone. I guess correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but he's going to update his camera because it's kind of the specs aren't there. Again, this just could be me. I'm really impressed by it. Most likely, I'll see some other videos that will show really high quality stuff. But right now, I'm really impressed with it. I think it'll suit my needs right now until I get used to it and maybe upgrade from there. But Mike does really good stuff anyway, so I would assume no matter what he's shooting with, he's going to do really good stuff. But I flew it there and tested it out. Now I'm just itching to fly it again. I got everything ready to go for when the next clear day is, and I got about 20-25 minutes to fly the thing. One thing I will recommend to those out there who, and this is coming from, again, someone who's only flown it once, is I would definitely buy another battery for this thing. The fly time is so small, which is fine, and most likely if I'm using it for more real estate stuff and not just leisurely just flying for the heck of it, most likely I'll be able to take care of what I need to do in that 20 minutes if I stay focused. 20 minutes is kind of a long time when you have a job to do. It didn't feel like a long time to me because I was having fun just flying it around doing whatever. But if I have a specific job to do for that, 20 minutes is probably going to be around the time it takes. But I definitely want another battery for it. I don't know if I want to pay $150 a pop for it. So if any of you do have drones and you know a way to know a different spot to get cheaper batteries that are still regulated for that, let me know. And so that was my first flight. And, I've been looking on videos on YouTube again of people flying theirs and trying to get cinematic tips from it. One thing that I did find out, and I'll have to pull up the guy's stuff while I'm talking here real quick. I know his YouTube channel. I know him. I know his name. I don't know his actual YouTube channel, so I'm going to pull that up. But his name is Dom Bauer. I think it's DON or DOM. BOWER. I'm looking it up right now. But he has a channel called, I think it's Dom Flights, I believe. I'll have to make sure I'm looking at the right one. Dom's Flights. So it's DOMSFLIGHTS. He does a lot of drone stuff on there, and one of the things that he posted not even a week after I got my drone was that DJI has canceled or terminated the Phantom 4. They're not making the Phantom 4 anymore. And the reason for that is they are concentrating more on the DJI Inspire, the Inspire series, which is the top dog, and the Mavic, which is kind of the compact version. They're kind of concentrating on that. So one thing he suggested, which I'm actually going to look into, is if you're wanting parts for the DJI Phantom 4 or most of the series below that, since they're technically not making my model anymore either. So if you're looking for parts, now is the time to kind of grab those up, because they're not going to be making those parts much more. You're probably going to have third-party people making propellers and all that kind of fun stuff. But if you're wanting something from DJI or from the actual manufacturer, like a new camera rig to make sure that, if you bust that one, you got another one ready to go, that's something to kind of look out for. And so I know that was kind of a weird podcast to talk about, but I'm just really excited for what drone photography will do for my regular photography, because it kind of opened my eyes up to a lot of things. I took one picture, like I said, I took pictures of the horses while I was flying it, and it was just a straight top-down view. I made sure my lines were straight and everything. Just a straight-up top-down view, nothing special. But it kind of gave me an idea of what I can do with it. It's not a fantastic image whatsoever, but it kind of gave me an idea of what I can do to where I can get more. I can take it places and get some ground stuff and get out my little backpack with my drone in it and get some different angles of stuff, and I can just play around with it. And there's really with using drones for photography and videography, the cliche, the stupid cliche that everybody pulls out is really the sky's the limit, because you can do pretty much anything. Now that you have an aircraft basically that can go take photos for you. So. It's just a kind of a fun thing to think about, and for those of you who still are on the fence about pulling the trigger for one of them, I would definitely recommend one. I don't care which one you get. I'll put a link to the exact one that I got just in case those of you who want to check it out. But again, the standard version is really good as well. One thing that I thought about getting the standard version over the pro version, which again, I'm glad I got the pro, but the standard version, if I'm going to crash something, I'd rather it be $500 or $499 or whatever it is, compared to $900, which is what the drone that I got was. If I'm going to crash something because I don't know how to fly these things, if I'm going to be really reckless, if I'm going to lose money, I want to lose as little as possible. But from what I've seen, these things are pretty resilient. So you might bust a propeller or something like that, but those are pretty easy to come by. So that's just something I want to talk to you guys about. I know it's kind of a weird one just because I'm mainly talking about my experience, but it's just, there's a lot of people out there who want something like this and just haven't thought about it, and are like, would I really use it? I guarantee you, if you get one, you will find things to use it for. I'm already coming up with tons of places I want to go to try to get some awesome video, which will actually break me into doing more video, but also get more photos as well. So really fun to think about if you're still trying to decide on what you want. I'd definitely pull the trigger if I were you, just to give yourself a shot to be more creative with your photography. All right, so like I do with most of the episodes of the podcast, the last segment is sort of the widget of the week segment that I'm gonna kind of play around with here. And this one actually came to me, a text message from my pops. My dad sent me this cool app, and I've been looking at it. Not only it's kind of a locational app, but I've been looking at it in my area plus other areas around us. And basically what it is I would consider it like an activity finder. but you can use it for a lot of things. So the app is called The Outbound. So check that out on the App Store. I don't know if it's for Android. I'm sure it is, but it's definitely for iPhone or iOS. And you can open the Outbound app and put in some information, create a little profile for yourself. And what you do is put in your location and put in an activity that you want to do. And so photography is actually one of the activities on there. And so when you choose that and you choose your location, what it basically gives you are places in your area that you can take photos. In this particular case, there's tons of stuff that you can do, but I'm only doing the photography portion of it. So you kind of put in the location and the activity, and it shows you well-known places, or sometimes not even well-known places, where you can go take photos. And so I typed in my location, and near me are a couple rivers, a couple hiking trails, camping, and the famous mills and stuff near my area. Just a whole bunch of stuff that you can look at, and you can click on it and see people who posted reviews about it, see people's photos of the place. So you can kind of get a feel for what's in that area. Just a really, really cool app, and it's well designed. It's really easy to use. But like I said, if you're not into photography, which I don't know why you wouldn't be, because you're listening to the wrong podcast. But let's say you look at all the photography stuff and you found that you kind of want to try something else. They have stuff like camping, or they have backpacking, swimming, running, fishing, rock climbing, water skiing, mountain biking, kayaking, a whole bunch of stuff, cycling. Gosh, there's a whole bunch of stuff on here. And you pick that activity, and it shows you places to go in your area, and kind of gives people a chance to review them, so you can kind of get a feel for what's going on, and you can definitely review it as well when you create your profile. So I just thought that was a really, really awesome app to show places to get out there and take photos, because that's kind of what it's all about. You can take photos of your office and your computer as a photographer, but you're only going to get so far. So you really got to get out there and do some fun stuff. So that's something fun to look at. So again, if you're going to check that out, I'll put a link in the show notes as well. So PictureMonk.com/PMP074. I think I said it was episode 74. But yeah, it'll be on there, and you can check that out. So again, thank you guys for checking that out. And again, make sure you remember, next week I might not have a podcast. Like I said, I'm going to try to have a podcast every week, but I definitely will have one every other week until I get some of this scheduling stuff fixed up, to where I can kind of wrap my mind around everything. But yeah, let me just wrap up real quick. Basically, just check out the Adorama Pix books. They're really fantastic. Get a drone if you've been wanting one for a while, and download the Outbound app. It's a really cool app. So thank you guys for joining me in this video. Make sure you also subscribe to the podcast if you haven't. If this is your first time, thank you for joining us. I had a little hiccup there. Thank you for joining us, and make sure you join the PictureMonk Nation Facebook page as well. That's a cool little group. Everybody's posting stuff. There's a lot of people posting stuff, and I don't even have time to catch up with them. I still got to make time for that as well. So thank you for joining me in this podcast. This is Jordan from PictureMonk.com, and I'll catch you in the next podcast.